All right, so Powerhouse Recycling asked, what is the timing of the counties and manufacturers being paired together? Unfortunately, I would not know that exact answer. That would be a kind of an internal rule by the clearinghouse, I believe. Typically, I believe the clearinghouse would not be pairing the manufacturers and recyclers. I think the manufacturers kind of opt into their own group plan. At least this is kind of how it works in Illinois under the umbrella of the clearinghouse. And I would suspect that would happen sometime after the opt-in, because eventually the representative of the manufacturers have to contact the counties to make sure all the preparations are correct. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so when do the manufacturers have to submit their selected certified recycler by? Again, unfortunately, that would be kind of a clearinghouse model. So since the clearinghouse will be submitting the e-waste plan, they would probably set up their own rules for when manufacturers say, well, this will be the recycler we're using for the sites that are allotted to us. So is there a centralized website or portal that shows all counties, their manufacturer, and their recycler? So are you asking like currently, or do you think under the new act, if it's enacted?
I think both, if whatever's available.
So I don't believe there is a current, and one of our DHEC people can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there is anything like that currently on our website. I'm intending similar to Illinois, once an e-waste plan is submitted, and this is under the new act, once a plan is approved by the department, we would post that act on our website. And if you go through one of the program plans in Illinois, it breaks down by county, and it says what recycler is being used, what collector is being used, and what sites are being used. So I would want to do something like that under the new act if it's implemented.
Okay.
And when do all current direct service contracts between municipality, county, and recycler go null and void? So the act does not mess with any, or it doesn't have any provisions related to current contracts. So I'm not sure. I suspect it will affect those, but I don't know. It doesn't really null and void any. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And the last question from Powerhouse is, what course of action does a county have if their recycler, whom they did not vet and choose, either delivers poor performance or non-compliant recycling? So one of the new things under this act is when a recycler registers with DHEC, if they have a history of poor compliance and they don't comply with all of the requirements for recoverers, DHEC can deny their registration. So that would be, I think, and there's also other various compliance provisions that not only are in the act, but are already in the regulation. I think that DHEC would have its disposal if a recycler is non-compliant with the requirements.
Okay, so that would go through DHEC versus like the manufacturer or the clearinghouse.
Yes, the clearinghouse does not have a lot of police power, I believe, under this act. They can report non-compliance to DHEC, but DHEC will be the main compliance.
Compliance body. Okay. Yep. Very helpful. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Okay. Okay, I think Sally answered Melanie's question. So Melanie had asked, how long does the bill have to pass or be signed by the governor? And Sally answered, it will be discussed at the June 15th conference committee. If passed, we hoped it would be signed shortly after approval, but we do not have a definitive date. She is correct.
And we have one more question in the chat. Is the assumption this bill is going to pass?
We think so. So the only reason it's in a conference committee is a senator added a unrelated amendment to it. As far as we suspect, we think that amendment is going to be removed, and it had passed both houses by wide margins. So I think the assumption is the bill will pass.
And as soon as it does, like Tim said, we will work on updating our information and posting as much to our website as possible.
So Chris asks, if recyclers hit 80%, what happens to us unknown companies picking up computers? What's in place to ensure timely pickups? So I think you're asking what is there to ensure timely pickups between the county and the manufacturer plan? Is that correct? Okay, yes. All right, so that is so the clearinghouse is not going to be the policeman of the act. So if there are compliance issues from the manufacturer end, that will be something that you would be reported to DHEC. Probably, I don't know how this would work practically, but you would first contact the representative of the clearinghouse or the manufacturer if for some reason some sort of miscommunication happens with regards to picking up electronics. We've had a time with Creative not coming for months at a time. Oh yes, so I was not working at DHEC with Creative, but I understand. But I read about that situation. I understand that was a very bad deal for the counties. And speaking of that, that was why they included a clause in the act, and I can get the exact phrase, but counties are immune from liability from these devices if they follow the collection protocols under that are listed in, I think, section 141 of the act. All right. Chris asks, what happens if there are more municipalities that want to opt in? There are available spots within non-opt-in counties. Will those municipalities be allowed to be a part of a private program, so non-municipal collection sites? So okay, what happens if there are more municipalities that want to opt in and there are available spots within non-opt-in counties? So the municipalities, if they are wanting to opt into the program, they would be opting into counties that have opted into the program. So they would only be able to opt in if there are other counties that have already opted into the program. So for example, if the city of Greenville wanted to opt into a different county because the county of Greenville did not opt in. So will those municipalities be allowed to be a part of a private program? So I believe, and correct me if I'm misinterpreting this question. So it is not a requirement for any county or municipality to participate in this program. So if they are not participating, they're more than welcome to have their own private collection and recycling programs for electronics. Does that make sense?
Chris, you're welcome to unmute if we can figure out exactly what we need to answer for you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if there's a county that opts in and not all of their sites are accounted for, municipalities and other counties can essentially take those spots. Is that correct?
So no. So what would happen is a county opts in and they say they want, for example, 2 sites. So even if if a municipality from a different county is opting in, they would be using one of the sites that the county is presenting to the manufacturer on their opt-in. So they would not be using a different site. They would just kind of be attached to that county's site.
Got it. So I guess my question then is, what if there's more municipalities than there are available spots?
So there's not a county's program there's not a limit on how many municipalities can be attached to a different county's program. So that agreement would be up to the municipality and the county. So it wouldn't be like a single pairing.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Hi, this is Dave Hirschler from ERI. Sort of related to Chris's question, in the Illinois program, in addition to the counties and municipalities that have opted in, the state, the clearinghouse has allowed volume collected through what they call private programs, which is retail collection, nonprofit collection, material that's sort of collected outside of the standard municipal collection programs. Is that system still going to be allowed in South Carolina if the clearinghouse allows it as well?
Thanks for your question, David, and correct me if I'm not answering your question, but I think you're referring to the clearinghouse can allow the manufacturers to kind of get, fulfill their obligation outside of counties that have opted in. Is that what you're asking?
Correct. It's sort of in conjunction, in addition to counties, they can fill their portion of their obligation through other collection that's already happening in the state, such as retail and nonprofit collections.
Yes, and the answer to that is yes. And you can find that clause, I think it's at the end of section 4860, I'm looking up real quick, 4860-61.
Great, thanks.
This is Chris Kasman again. Dave, good question. So on that regard, would the clearinghouse or the state be responsible for determining how much of a manufacturer's collection can be made up of private programs?
So this might be a weird answer, but the answer is both, because the clearinghouse will be making the overall decision on, they have the market share data and the return share data, and they will be allocating the counties towards. And now in Illinois, how it's kind of does, the manufacturers kind of group themselves into different recycling groups. And I believe the clearinghouse allocates the counties into that. But DHEC would have overall approval of the plan. And that's kind of the signature responsibility of DHEC is to, since we also have the market share data and the return share data, to just review the plan to make sure that it fits kind of the spirit of the allocation methodology. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you. Chris also asks, what happens if we get more than market share collected? And correct me if I'm misinterpreting this question. So the manufacturers do not have a pounds obligation when they are funding pickup and recycling at these sites. So when you have a one-day event or a program site, they are responsible for the packaging equipment, the packaging material, the transportation from and recycling of everything that is collected at that one-day event or that permanent site. So there's not really a limit that's defined by market share. The market share is used by the clearinghouse to kind of distribute the counties across the manufacturers on kind of their percentage of their obligation. Does that make, okay, all right, I think I answered that. Okay.
Those are all great questions.
Yes, very, very good question. Thank you all.
We have about 5 minutes left. If anybody has any other, we'll be happy to answer them for you.
This is Dave Hirschler again. I guess, is there any requirement on sort of the non-monitor and TV products for counties that have opted in on what happens to those materials? They're sort of especially items that are covered but not under the monitor TV portion. Is there a requirement for those to be accepted or a requirement for people to take responsibility, or is the opt-in specific to the TVs and monitors and everything else is private?
So the opt-in is specific to TV and monitor manufacturers, and that is what they are obligated to take. There is a section in the act that obligates a county that opts into the program to offer other covered devices, though, to the recycler that comes and picks them up at the program sites.
Okay, so they have to offer them, but it's up to the recycler to choose to take them or not.
Yes. And yeah, and they're also in There are also, you can make arrangements between the collector and the recycler to take other devices, but that'll be kind of arrangements outside of the program.
Understood.
Okay. All right. So Chris asked, we have 10 collection sites around the county now, so we collect and bring to our closed landfill for processing. So I guess we would have one site for pickup. Yep. And that sounds kind of like how this program operates in counties in Illinois, is that, counties have multiple pickup sites for their electronics, and then the county decides which location they would like to deem as, this is where I would like my stuff picked up by the manufacturer's recycler. Very good questions. And like I said, if you come up with a question later, feel free to reach out to any of the DHEC staff that are emails that are attached to all these things. And we're going to put this PowerPoint presentation on our website eventually. But we could also email it to anybody who would like it. Okay. Michelle asks, all right, so Michelle asks, if counties have a November 1st date to register as a collector, what is the realistic timeline for getting pickups from the clearinghouse? So the counties and I guess the representative of the manufacturer / recycler, they would be the ones who would kind of negotiate the dates for each event, and the county would kind of have to say, this is when, we're going to offer our program site for pickups. But so this is for program year 2023. So this is for next year, if that makes sense, Michelle. Yes. So yeah. Did that answer your question, Michelle? So it would be a calendar year, Michelle. Okay. And Chris also asked, I'm guessing we'll get an email when it passes. So you will very likely be in contact with, it might not be the manufacturers themselves, but it would be a representative of the recycler who will be providing the services from them. That's at least how it kind of works in practice in Illinois. And they have to, whenever a county is being, I guess they opt for a different number of sites that is set forth in the act, they have to have an email or some sort of confirmation from the county, and they have to attach that to the program plan that they send to DHEC. So you will definitely be in contact with their representatives. Okay, so I got a question from York County, and they ask, York County currently collects electronics at 16 collection and recycling centers, then transports all materials to York, where they are consolidated, prepared for shipment. Can the York location be designated as our mutually agreed upon collection point? The answer is yes. So when you fill out the opt-in form, you just need to put the collection site addresses that you are recommending for the program, and that's in a collection center owned by the county. That's probably a standard collection site as used in Illinois. So I think that would be very acceptable. Another question from York County is, will we continue to use our current vendor? So they're asking, can they use the same recycler? Unfortunately, I don't have a exact answer on that, because the choice for the recycler under the current program will be made by the manufacturer. So when a county opts into the program, they will be using the recycler that the manufacturer designates. Now, as in Illinois, the way it kind of works is that the county opts into the clearinghouse plan, and then the clearinghouse allocates them to several group plans, which use their own group of recyclers. So that would be how it works in practice in Illinois. So, but in the opt-in form, you can put your recommended recycler on there. And as the clearinghouse functions in Illinois, they try to honor previous recommendations, and that goes both ways for collectors and counties. So they try to ensure that they're matched up to their preferred recycler. Okay, so is there a maximum dollar amount or tonnage that the program will cover? The answer is no. So any television or computer monitor that it comes to a program site or one-day event has to be packaged and transported and recycled by the manufacturer program. So they will fund all of that. And if we opt in, do we have to allow other counties to opt in our program? The answer is no. The only situation where an out-of-state participant should be participating in a county program is one, I guess, if you're a solid waste authority that covers multiple counties, and also if you're if a municipality is electing to participate in a county's program, but that is it would be an arrangement made by the municipality and the county beforehand. So you would not have to allow another to participate. Okay, so we have some more questions from, I think, Powerhouse Recycling. So what is the timing of the counties and the manufacturers being paired together? So that is a internal thing that would be decided by the clearinghouse, assuming there is one. In Illinois, from what I've seen, is that typically before the plan has to be submitted, the counties and the clearinghouse will allocate them, and they take into consideration the preferred collector, but they also have to take into consideration what is the manufacturer's share. And typically afterwards, the manufacturer or the management company that will be handling recycling for the manufacturer would contact the counties afterwards to kind of cement, what program sites, how many program sites, and what recyclers they would be using. So when do manufacturers have to submit their selected certified recycler by? That would be when they have to submit their plan. Well, that would be the drop dead deadline, but that would also be kind of an internal rule that the clearinghouse itself would come up with, that they would need those who are participating in their e-waste program to have their selected recyclers by this point. It likely, as in Illinois, it might not even be an individual manufacturer. It might be more of a kind of a group plan that's operating under the umbrella of the manufacturer. They also ask, is there a centralized website portal that shows all counties, their manufacturer, and their recycler? So I'll answer this both ways. I think currently there is no such thing for our current program, but there are. I was kind of expecting, as in Illinois, that when we get a e-waste plan that's approved by the department, that we would post that plan on our website. And if you read the plan, it'll spell out, this county's grouped with this manufacturer using this recycler and using these program sites. And we would try to make that available. Let's see. When do all current direct service contracts between municipality, county, and recycler go null and void? So this law does not affect any current contracts at all. I can look into that a little bit more so I can give you a better answer on that. And what course of action does a county have if their recycler, whom they did not vet and choose, either delivers poor performance or non-compliant recycling? So under the current law, or under the proposed law, recyclers, if they are not compliant with the recoverer provisions, and that's, I think it's under 48-60-142 if you want to go through them in detail. But the department can deny their registration as a recoverer if they have been proven to be non-compliant. And there are also numerous other tools that we have to enforce compliance. Okay, so that was all the email questions I have. Okay.
Tim, you have a few questions in the chat.
Okay. So the County of Lexington, if a county contracts their e-waste recycling out, is the county the collector or is it their contractor? How will this work with current vendor contracts? So if the county contracts their e-waste recycling out, whoever their I guess I'm assuming it would probably be a recycler that is handling the collection services. They would be the one that would need to register as the collector, even though the county is probably funding their activities. And how will this work with current vendor contracts? Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer on that. I understand that this law has a very accelerated timeline, and I do not have a good answer for that one. Does that answer your question? I think, Lexington?
I think we were also just interested because we have a long-term contract with the vendor that we just signed. So, I mean, if a county were to opt in and they have a current contract, I mean, is this a reimbursable thing or how is that going to work?
That is a good question. We can contact you later with a better answer. Okay. Maureen Mulligan asks, what happens to municipalities with below a population of 17,000? So unfortunately, the law only gives an opt-in ability for municipalities over 17,000 in population. So for municipalities that are below it, the county would need to opt into the program in order to ensure that the coverage of that county gets recycling services offered by the program. Okay. So Berkeley County just signed a 2-year electronic scrap contract with a vendor. Our vendor indicated that the pricing is reflected with the manufacturer funding. How will the new contract be affected? I don't know the exact details of that, but the manufacturer funding, the recovering obligations for the 80%, they will be going away after this year. So any I guess recycling obligation for TV and monitor manufacturers, they will be funded for the new program. So I am unsure how that would affect existing contracts. So how are counties protected as not to be caught up in a warehouse full of liability left by a collector? That is a good question. There is a provision in the law that counties that, whether the county is acting as the collector or the third party, if they fulfill all the requirements for collectors, and you can read this in detail, 48, 60, 141 in the law, but they are being immune from liability if they follow all of the collector requirements. And I do not have the exact reference for that reference, but I can send it to you, Chris. Let's see. Allison, are peripheral items part of the accepted program items? Unfortunately not. So the covered devices are mostly the same. Computers, computer monitors, televisions, printers. There is one change though, that since we added a definition of computer, we included tablets. So tablet computers would be offered as a covered device. That won't really affect the convenience standard model though, because that's for televisions and computer monitors. Are we able to use our current outreach and education materials? Yeah, I believe so. Can you expand on that question? I want to make sure I'm answering it right. Allison Woodruff.
Hi there. I was just checking to see if there is something specific that DHEC was requiring us to use in terms of outreach and education because this is part of a bill.
Okay. No, I don't think it's so. Okay, so Gary White asks, will we remain as is for the balance of 22 in our electronics collection and recycling? So the answer to that is yes. current, I suppose the status quo law will remain in effect for the rest of 2022. Maureen Mulligan, are counties required to opt in? The answer is yes. So if you want to participate in the manufacturer funded program, you need to fill out an opt-in form for the program by August 1st of this year. And I believe May of, let me go back to the timeline just for, so everyone can
Tim,
see.
I think we might have gotten or taken that question the wrong way. I think Maureen, if you are required to fill out the form and opt in if you want to join. But Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's no requirement for them to opt
Okay.
into the program.
I apologize.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Okay.
No, you are not required to opt into the program. No.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure we clarified.
Oh, no. Thank you for catching me. Gary White asks if we, and this is a very good question, if we opt in by August 1st, 2022, would we be able to opt out later on? So I've presented that question to some of our counterparts in Illinois because I was curious to how that works. I would tentatively say yes, because a lot of this is, so a lot of the details for the opt-in process are flexible after the opt-in, because there's always going to be concerns about, what sites are you using, what are the terms of service. I would say that I think there is a point where you would be kind of locked in. I would bet no, and I will follow up with everyone to make sure I give a 100% correct answer, but I would bet by the time the plan is submitted by DHEC, that would probably be the last point to opt out. Okay. Maureen asks, how will the manufacturers be billed, or what is the accounting required? So the manufacturers are going to directly fund the transportation and the recycling of the materials, and also the packaging materials. So they will actually be directly paying for getting someone to go over there, go to a collection site or one day, then pick up the material and then carrying it off to get recycled. All right. Eric asks, is there a minimum or maximum number of pickups at a collection site? I have concerns regarding adequate storage and material on site. So there is no minimum or maximum number of pickups at a collection site. The only issue you might want to be aware of is that for collectors, if a manufacturer truck comes up and they collect material and it's below 18,000 pounds, they are allowed to charge the collector a $600 shortfall fee. And that would be sort of a advantage of a permanent collection site versus a one-day event, because a permanent collection site it's always there. It would probably require fewer staff. There's less, I suppose, uncertainty with weather that a one-day event would have, and you can have a constant stream of material and then fill the truck up as your need presents itself. So County of Lexington asks, so if the county pays their current vendor, would the county also need to opt in to be eligible to receive the funds to pay the vendor? Can you, I don't suppose you can kind of explain that question a little bit more?
So, for instance, if we have a current contract, we're paying that vendor to dispose of the items.
Mm-hmm.
Would we also need to opt in to be eligible to get the funds to pay them?
Well, you are receiving the funds from the manufacturer, correct?
No,
We're paying.
we're paying.
Okay. You're paying. So there's nothing in the law that requires you to participate. So if you want to continue on with your current arrangement, that would be fine. You don't need to opt in to fund your own recycling program. Does that make sense?
I guess what I'm asking is the way that the current contract is set up, we pay the vendor. If we wanted to benefit from this law and be able to utilize funds to collect electronics, how would that move forward, would that be reimbursable, or is that something that?
I don't know that.
We currently pay a collector, like the county doesn't collect the items personally.
Oh, okay. So when you say vendor, do you mean collector? So they're collecting the devices, and then you're asking, can the in
Because
that
we have to pay the vendor.
yes. So in that instance, if you were to opt into the program, that vendor would be considered a collector. And in that arrangement, so when you say receive the funds, so you're paying this collector to take in the material.
Yes.
Well, I guess you already have that arrangement, so you don't need to opt in. But yes, if you would like to utilize the manufacturer funds to come in and transport the material from that collector and get it recycled, yes, you would need to opt in, and the vendor would need to register as a collector. Okay. Maureen
Tim,
asks,
we're 5 minutes after. I think we have one more question in the chat.
okay.
If we don't mind, can we answer that one? And can you put your contact information back up?
Yes.
We'll go ahead and wrap up after this last question from Maureen. And again, enter your questions into the chat or email them to Tim or to eRegister. And I know that you all registered for this webinar, but you're more than welcome to attend any of the other webinars that we have as well. And again, if this passes, we'll put some more information on our website.
Okay, so Maureen asks, will counties be responsible for arranging pickups, acquiring supplies for manufacturers, paying employees? We collect and package all of our e-waste. The vendor takes it off. Can that cost be covered? So is the vendor taking, what do you mean by a vendor takes it off? I mean, are you assembling it at one point?
We have 15 collection sites throughout the county where we collect, 5 of those we collect e-waste at, and we bring it all to a central site where we then put it on pallets and package it up, and a vendor comes and picks up those pallets and takes those pallets away. So I'm wondering which part, I mean, if we opt in, because we would, I mean, I guess we want to take advantage of the funding.
Yes.
So what would be the best way to do that for us, for a system like that?
So the good news is it sounds like you've kind of got already half of the puzzle already solved. So you already collect e-waste at certain locations, and then you assemble it at one spot. So that's the main responsibility of the county, is to pick one site for the manufacturer to come pick it up and get it recycled. So if you pick that one site as your either program site or as a place to do your one-day events, all the county needs to do is they need to, number one, if they're acting as a collector, register and collect the materials at that spot and provide the funding. And they would have to pay for the labor and equipment to kind of collect all the material there. But the manufacturer is responsible for paying to come up, get it, and take it off to get recycled, and also for its recycling, and also for any packaging equipment or packaging equipment that you need. Does that make sense, Maureen?
Yes. Does that, I guess that makes me wonder about the packaging equipment. Is that, I guess I'm getting into the weeds here. That does answer my main question.
Yep. And if you opted in, you would probably be in contact with your if you're in the clearinghouse, whoever they were assigned to, and they would probably help you out with how they would get the material to you, the packaging material.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for your questions.